lock the doors, dim the lights, and step into the archive. I am the curator, and these are tonight's selections. The first knock happened on a Tuesday, at exactly 2:33 a.m. I remember the time because the sound woke me up instantly. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. At first I thought I was dreaming. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. My bedroom was dark. The only light came from the digital clock on my nightstand. 2:33 a.m. I lay there for a moment, half awake, listening. Nothing. No footsteps in the hallway. No voices. Just silence. I almost convinced myself I imagined it. Then it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. This time I was fully awake. The sound was coming from the front door of my apartment. Slow, careful, like someone trying not to wake the neighbors. My first thought was that it might be my landlord. Maybe there was some emergency in the building. But something about the knocking felt wrong. It wasn't urgent. It wasn't loud. It was calm. Too calm. Like the person outside already knew I was awake. I slowly got out of bed and walked into the hallway. The floor creaked beneath my feet. The apartment felt colder than usual. When I reached the front door, I looked through the peephole. The hallway outside was empty. The dim ceiling light flickered softly above the stairs. No one stood outside my door. No one walked down the hall. No one waited near the elevator. Just an empty hallway. I stayed there for a few seconds, confused. Then I opened the door. The hallway was completely silent. I stepped out and looked around. Still no one. That's when I noticed something strange. The elevator light was on, but the elevator itself wasn't moving. The doors stayed closed, like someone inside had pressed the button and never stepped out. I waited for a moment. Nothing happened. Eventually, I went back inside my apartment and locked the door again. I told myself it was probably just someone at the wrong door. Maybe a drunk neighbor. Maybe someone visiting the wrong apartment. I went back to bed and tried to fall asleep, but something about the knocking stayed in my head because it had sounded too deliberate, too controlled, like someone was following a pattern. The next night I woke up again, not because of a dream, not because of noise, but because my body suddenly felt tense, like something had woken me up. I looked at the clock beside my bed. 2:33 a.m. And right on cue, the knocking started again. Knock, knock, knock. Exactly the same as the night before. Slow, even, perfectly spaced. My heart started beating faster. This time I didn't get up immediately. I stayed in bed and listened. The knocking didn't continue. It was always just 3 knocks. Never more. Never less. After about a minute, I walked to the door again, looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty, exactly like the night before. But this time something was different. Something small. Something easy to miss. The elevator doors were open, and the inside of the elevator was completely dark. No lights, no movement. Just a black space where the elevator should have been. I stared at it for several seconds, trying to see if someone was inside, trying to see if anyone was hiding there. But the darkness inside the elevator looked deeper than it should have been, almost like the light from the hallway couldn't reach it. I locked the door again and stepped away. That night I barely slept. And the next morning I decided to ask the building manager about it. When I told him about the knocking, his expression changed immediately. He didn't look confused. He didn't look surprised. He just looked uncomfortable. Then he asked me a strange question. Did the knocking happen at 2:33? I nodded slowly. He sighed. Then he said something that made my stomach tighten. You should never open the door when that happens. I frowned. Why? The manager hesitated for a long moment. Then he leaned closer and lowered his voice. Because the person knocking isn't trying to come inside. He paused, then added quietly, they're trying to see who lives there now. That night, I decided to stay awake, just to prove to myself there was nothing strange happening. But at exactly 2:33 a.m., the knocking started again. And this time, it didn't stop at 3 knocks. The knocking didn't stop. That was the first thing that made my chest tighten. Every night before, it had always been the same. 3 knocks, then silence. But tonight the sound continued. Knock, knock, knock. A short pause. Then again. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, deliberate, almost patient. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the hallway outside my bedroom. The sound echoed softly through the apartment walls. It didn't sound like someone banging on the door anymore. It sounded like someone calmly reminding me they were still there, waiting. I checked the clock again. 2:34 a.m. Whoever was outside hadn't left. The knocking started again, this time slightly louder. Knock, knock, knock. My heart was pounding now. Part of me wanted to ignore it completely, just stay in bed and wait until morning. But curiosity slowly pushed me out of the room. I walked quietly through the dark hallway of my apartment. Each step felt heavier than the last. The knocking stopped the moment I reached the front door. Silence filled the apartment again. I stood there for a moment, staring at the door, then slowly leaned forward and looked through the peephole. The hallway outside looked exactly the same. Dim light, quiet walls, empty space. No one stood there. No footsteps. No movement. I let out a slow breath. Maybe whoever had knocked had already walked away. Maybe they heard me coming. But something made me keep looking, just to be sure. That's when I noticed it. Someone was standing at the end of the hallway, perfectly still. At first I thought it was just a shadow. But then the hallway light flickered slightly, and the shape became clearer. It was a person, tall, thin, standing near the elevator, facing my door. My stomach tightened, because the person wasn't moving, not even a little. They weren't walking toward the stairs. They weren't pressing the elevator button. They were just standing there, watching my door, watching me. Even though they couldn't possibly know I was looking through the peephole, I stayed frozen, trying to understand what I was seeing. Then the hallway light flickered again, just for a second, and when the light returned, the figure was gone. I pulled back from the peephole immediately, my heart racing. I stood there listening, but the hallway outside was silent again. No footsteps. No elevator. Nothing. I stepped back toward my bedroom, trying to calm down, trying to convince myself it was just a neighbor walking past. But before I could reach my room, the knocking started again. And this time, it wasn't coming from the front door. It was coming from the inside wall of my apartment, right next to me. Knock, knock, knock. I slowly turned my head toward the wall. The sound came again, closer, louder, and suddenly I realized something horrifying. The knocks were coming from the other side of my bedroom wall, the wall that faced the hallway outside my apartment. But that wall had no doors, no windows, no openings, which meant only one thing. Whatever had been knocking on my front door before was now on the other side of my wall, inside the building, standing exactly where my bed was. And then the knocking came one more time, this time from the other side of the wall directly behind my bed. Knock, 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 like something was asking permission to come in. I stood there staring at the wall beside my bed. The knocking had stopped again, but the silence felt heavier now, like something was waiting. My apartment suddenly felt much smaller, much quieter. The wall in front of me looked completely normal. Plain white paint, no cracks, no holes, just a regular wall separating my bedroom from the hallway outside. But I knew exactly where the sound had come from, right on the other side, exactly where my bed was placed. Then it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. This time the sound was louder and closer. It came directly from the wall behind my bed. Not from the door, not from the hallway, from the wall itself. My chest tightened. I slowly stepped closer. The air in the room felt cold now, colder than it should have been. My hand hovered near the wall. I don't know why I did it. Maybe curiosity, maybe fear, maybe some strange instinct telling me to respond. Slowly, I raised my hand and knocked back. Knock, knock, knock. The sound echoed softly in the room. Then everything went completely silent. For a moment I thought maybe that was it. Maybe whatever was making the noise would stop. Maybe it would go away. But a few seconds later, the knocking returned. And this time it came from somewhere else. Behind me, I turned slowly. The sound was coming from my bedroom door. 3 slow knocks. From the other side. Knock, knock, knock. My heart dropped into my stomach, because my bedroom door opened into the hallway inside my apartment. The same hallway I had just walked through. The same hallway that had been completely empty, which meant one terrifying thing. Something was now standing inside my apartment, right outside my bedroom door. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The knocking didn't continue. It was always just 3 knocks, then silence, just like the front door, just like the wall, just like every night before. Seconds passed. Then the door handle slowly turned. My entire body froze. The door creaked open slightly, just a few inches. Darkness filled the hallway beyond it. I stared at the small opening, waiting to see someone, a neighbor, a stranger, anyone, but no one stepped inside. The hallway stayed empty. Then something strange happened. The door slowly opened wider on its own, revealing the hallway completely. And that's when I noticed something that made my skin crawl. The front door of my apartment was open, wide open. I knew I had locked it earlier, but now it stood open, leading directly into the building hallway. The dim hallway light outside flickered weakly, and in the distance, near the elevator, someone was standing there again. The same tall shape I had seen through the peephole earlier, facing my apartment, perfectly still. But this time it wasn't at the end of the hallway. It was much closer, and slowly, very slowly, it raised its hand and knocked 3 times on the air in front of it. Knock, knock, knock. A second later, the sound echoed from inside my apartment. Right behind me, the knock behind me echoed through the room. Knock, knock, knock. I spun around so fast my shoulder hit the wall. But there was nothing there. The room was empty. My bed, my desk, the small lamp on the nightstand, everything exactly where it had always been. Yet the sound had come from right behind me, close enough that I felt the vibration in the floor. My breathing became shallow. Slowly, I turned back toward the hallway. The front door of my apartment was still open, and the figure outside had moved closer. Much closer. It was standing halfway down the hallway now, still facing my apartment, still perfectly still. The hallway light flickered above its head. For a brief second the light became bright enough to reveal more of the shape. It was tall, unnaturally thin, and the way its head tilted slightly to one side made my stomach twist, like it was trying to listen or recognize something. Then it raised its hand again and knocked on the empty air. Knock, knock, knock. The sound came from my living room wall this time, loud, clear, inside my apartment, like the building itself was answering the knock. I stepped slowly toward the bedroom door. Every instinct told me not to move, but I needed to understand what was happening. I walked down the hallway toward the living room. The apartment felt colder with every step. When I reached the front door, I stopped. The figure outside the apartment was now only a few steps away, standing directly in front of the open doorway. But the strangest part was its face, or what should have been its face, because the hallway light flickered again. And when it did, I realized something impossible. The figure didn't have a face, just smooth pale skin where a face should have been. No eyes, no mouth, no nose, nothing. Yet somehow I knew it was looking directly at me. Then it raised its hand one last time and knocked on the air again. Knock, knock, knock. But this time, the sound didn't come from the walls. It came from my chest. 3 heavy thumps, like someone knocking from inside my ribcage. My knees almost gave out. The thing outside the door tilted its head again, as if it had finally found what it was searching for. And then it slowly stepped closer to the doorway, right up to the edge of my apartment. I wanted to slam the door. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move, because at that moment, I remembered what the building manager had told me. They're trying to see who lives there now. The figure slowly lifted its hand and reached toward the doorframe, not trying to enter, just touching the wall beside the door, like it was remembering something. Then the hallway light flickered again, and for just a second, the pale skin on its face shifted, and I saw something underneath it. A face, a normal human face, but it looked familiar, too familiar, because it looked exactly like the photo on the mailbox downstairs. The photo of the previous tenant, the man who used to live in my apartment, the man who had disappeared 3 years ago. The hallway light flickered again, and when it turned back on, the figure was gone. The hallway was empty. The elevator doors closed slowly, and the building fell silent. I stood there for several minutes, unable to move. Eventually, I closed the apartment door and locked it. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. But the next morning, I checked the building mailboxes downstairs again, just to be sure. And that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Next to the old tenant's photo, someone had taped a small piece of paper, a handwritten note, just 3 words, written very slowly, like someone had taken their time. It said, "Still knocking," and underneath it, someone had written my apartment number.